Hey everybody, I'm wanting to do a second video. I just did a video on completing the square, and again it was more to kind of explain what completing the square was and where it came from, but here I just want to go through the steps of how to solve by completing the square. And so it may help to watch the first video. If it was a little bit confusing, then this may be the video to watch. But the first thing I want to do in completing the square, or solve by completing the square, is I want to get the constant on the right, or on the other side. Sorry, oops. So for instance, I have this minus 11, so I'm going to add 11 to both sides. So whatever that number is without the variable, I'm going to put it on the other side. And so on the left side, I'm left with x squared minus 10x, and then equals 11. I'm kind of leaving some space, and again, you'll see why in a second. All right, so let me change colors here. All right, so again, the first thing I did was move the constant. Now this is where I complete the square. Whatever this number is next to the x, I divide by 2 and then square that number. So if I divide negative 10 by 2, I get negative 5. And then whatever that number is, I square it. And negative 5 squared is 25. Now again, whatever I do one side, I have to do the other, so I'm going to add 25 here. And so I get 36 on the right side. Now, I could rewrite this, but when I completed the square, I made this a really nice number, or sorry, nice polynomial. So I can actually write this as some binomial squared. What goes inside the parentheses is whatever I got when I divided by 2. So I'm actually going to change colors here again, just to, let's see what color I want. Let's use this green. So whatever I got when I divided by 2, which in this case was negative 5, that goes here. Okay. Now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And again, I'm taking the square root to get rid of that squared here. And don't forget, whenever you take the square root of both sides, you need to put plus or minus. Now fortunately 36 is a nice number, because the square root of 36 is just 6. And then here on the left side, I'm left with x minus 5. Now remember, I'm solving, so again, I'm always, when I'm solving, trying to get x by itself. So now I'm just going to add 5 to both sides. And then add 5 to here. So x is, now you can write plus or minus 6 plus 5, but remember, what this really means, alright, sorry about that, actually I got interrupted. So the plus or minus 6 really just means positive 6 plus 5 and negative 6 plus 5. So positive 6 plus 5 is 11, and negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. So in general, you're going to have two answers here. And we'll talk about more, but you can have imaginary solutions, so where you have the square root of a negative number, and you know, you'll have I and deal with all that. But I just want to real quick just recap. Make sure you get the constant on the other side. To complete the square, you divide by 2 and square it. So that was here. I divided by 2 to get negative 5, and then squared that to get 25. That's what I add to both sides. Once I do that, this part, again, the negative 5 just comes from whatever I get when I divided by 2, which in this case was negative 5. From there, I take the square root of both sides, and don't forget your plus or minus. So it's kind of hard to see that minus there. And then again, isolate the x. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully I didn't go too quickly. But if you have any more questions or would like me to do any more videos, just please let me know, and I would love to do so.